All right, we are live. Let me get this tweeted out for everybody here. Sorry for the delay there. Having a little bit of a program processing issue here, but it seems to be good now. So good. All right. Well, I hope everybody had a great trading day today. So today we're going to continue our discussion on getting street smart. And just as a quick reminder for everybody, everything we're going to talk about is for educational purposes only and not investment advice. So take a moment and please review the disclaimer before we start looking at some charts and to kind of talking about this next idea on the street smart ideas. So really good stuff. So. All right, good. Well, I hope everybody's doing well and had a great trading day. And yeah, so just kind of tune in. Let's take a look and see what is going on in the market so far. So today, wow, doesn't really seem like much, right? We're only down a quarter, 29 cents, right? Seemed like a little bit more action than that today. Considering that, we opened really flat and we actually closed really flat, but we had a pretty big range today. So we'll take a look there. So the monthly chart, again, still green, right? Still above the prior month's open, right, which kind of makes it sort of like that real body hammer, right, kind of still up. So there is a little bullish sentiment there still. The week last week, right, was a Harami week, red Harami. Just a little bit ticked above the prior week's high, right, and right now we're kind of in range right here. So today's range was 16 points, right, even though we closed pretty much flat on the day. So you would have expected, a little bit more of a doji type look, but it is what it is. So here's the daily chart, right? So really interesting stuff, right? We talked last night about the potential risk in the market, right? As we had this minor pivot here below the SPX below the SPX trend line, right? And so it was actually kind of a little bit scary, right? We kind of gapped below it, and we had a really rough day on Friday with quad witching day, and it looked like we might get some follow through on that to the downside, and so. We didn't, right? Instead, it reclaimed that range, right? So pretty impressive stuff. Not a turtle soup example, and not an example of the 80-20 today, but it still was a kind of a range reclaiming, right? So type day. So it did start to work its way up there. So from there, let's kind of take a look at the price action. So actually, let's take a look at the geometric chart. Again, pretty much still the same. Again, above these levels, we do have these open gaps below, which is a little bit of a concern, right? The stochastic is kind of coming down, but if we could hold these levels, even if it does come down and test those, fill that gap there, and it could hold this as support, right? We could work ourselves back. We could see the market working its way back up to the top of the channel. So we just kind of have to see how that kind of works out there. So let's take a look at the price action. These are the levels that we provide to our members before every market. You can see how valuable they are, right? So you can see we gapped down this morning, right? And then two gaps, right? And we talk about this a lot, in the group. There's two gaps that we look for, right? There's an open gap, right? So that's the open gap window, and then there's the closing gap, right? Which is where we closed, right? And so sometimes it doesn't make sense, right? Because here it's like, all right, well, I can see the open gap here, right, on the daily, right? I could see if I gap below yesterday's low, right, and I came down here, right, I could see that is an open gap window, and then when I fade that's good, right? So, but there's a closing gap too, and it's sometimes we don't see it, but I tell you, all about it in the morning if you see you're gapping up or gapping down, whether or not you're in the range or not. As long as you're above or below the close, you're gapping up or gapping down, and that is exactly what it is here, right? And you can see it a lot more visually, right? So right here you can see we closed here, right, and we gap down here. You can see the gap, but on the daily, right, of course, here's the open gap was just like from down here to here. So that's why we have yesterday's low and yesterday's close. Those can be really important values, right? We can see that's exactly what happened, and that's really kind of like the theme of a lot of these trades, kind of like these red dog reversals or these these range reclaiming trades. And so the first trade is, right, on a gap down, is a lot of times we like to look to see if we're going to fade that gap, right? And that's one of the important things to look at, and it's certainly a consideration any day. And anytime we are gapping, we should always think of that as a potential magnet, a magnet point to fill that gap, right? But there's two gaps, right? So there's this one here, the yesterday's low. So we filled that really quickly this morning, right? We gapped down, we kind of tagged up right there. You can see this is the 5-minute chart, kind of tested down and up and all that. Then came back down, and then then we started to push, right? So we got some momentum this morning, right? We started to push, right? So that was the big thrust right there. So once you're halfway through this range between here and here, it's not guaranteed, but it's, with that type of momentum, especially early in the morning, right, where you get all that morning momentum kind of going through it, right? These big ranges and all that stuff, pretty much say that we're going to fill that gap. So it's a little bit tricky to do on options, right? Especially, especially SPX, right? If there's like a big range, big spreads and all that stuff. But if you're trade futures, and all that stuff, it's a little bit easier if you go tick by tick, whatever the case, whatever the spread is there, to grab that trade right here from here, right? So it's a quick, kind of trade. So, and that's what it did, right? It came all the way back up, hit the prior day's close, filled the gap, filled the closing gap, and what did it do? It finished its job, it did its job, and it came back down to retest some of those other levels. Now, right, you kind of go through, it gives you the whole narrative as it goes through that, right? It came back down, right, tested the prior day's low, and it's like, okay, right, well, bottoming tail, well, it's not, I don't really feel like going lower, let me try up higher again, come back down, right? So you can kind of see, and then, it starts to make these patterns, right? So we have, look at that, higher, low, higher, low, higher, low, see ya, right? So it kind of pushes itself up. And what was the clue that it was going to get through this time? Here, it wasn't really clear that it was going to push through higher because of the upper shadow, right? But what did it do here? It gave you a closing hammer that closed above the prior day's close, right? So that's a very bullish move that shows the bulls are in charge. Then it tried to push higher. They tried to push higher, but you can see the bears just kept on striking them down, right? So there's 1, 2, 3, and then it chopped around for a little bit, right? There's a lot of some tug of war going in there, some chop, right? But to me, right, that just kind of like right away, that does look like a bull flag, right, intraday. You can see we broke out of there, tried to chop around a little bit. Oh, that topping tail right there is pretty rough. Upper shadow, upper shadow, upper shadow. Eventually they pushed down, couldn't get any higher, and then ultimately got to the next level, which is up here, and that is where it kind of gave up for the day, right? You can even tell here it couldn't push through with authority, upper shadow, tried to get up upper shadow, and then finally pushed itself down. Right, so very, very important stuff. Good price action, good stuff to know, right? Intraday, and especially having these levels, right? By reading this stuff, it makes it a little bit easier. And sometimes we can catch a good setup, right? A really good one that really starts to run between ranges. And on options, especially on expiration day, especially a big move like that, or a big move like that, you can really get some explosive moves, right? So, just look. Just at the end of the day, let's just kind of take a look real quick at the puts, right? So, let's say the next level was here. Let's say we were like, okay, it gave up here. I think it's going to test, these levels right here, right? So that's, let's say 29. We can just look at the 29.95 puts at the end of the day. SPXW 1909, and today is 23, and we look at the puts, we look at the 29.95s just at the end of the day. Now this is very, very fast action, right? That's within 5 minutes or so. But you could see how big that push was right at the end of the day on these options, right? If you can get in there and you're like, I think it's going to test that level, right? We're talking all the way from $1, right, up to $3.60. So it's a quick move. It's a ninja style trade, right? But it's a 3x trade right at the end of the day, right? And that's just by reading price action, right? So you can kind of see, what happens there. Right, so you see how it kind of gave up. This upper shadow right here was the key, and then you can see one more time it tried to push there, and then it closed red. Right, that shows the sellers were in control, and then once it pushed below this level, right, you can kind of see that maybe it wanted to test down there. And so once we saw this upper shadow form here, you kind of, if you can jump in on that momentum as it broke through these levels, right there you go. It was like $1 to like $3 on those options, right? So a really, really nice quick trade, and you can see those a lot on expiration day. Right, so good stuff. All right, so that's a quick recap of the market. So at this point, let me just kind of just real touch on today's idea. And it's real simple. The Street Smarts, the way it's laid out is it basically just gives 10 or 20 different setups that were effective and can be effective at the time. And I think they're really neat, and it's at least worth knowing about them because they're kind of popular in the trading world. So this one's called the 80-20, right? And so the 80-20 is a let's kind of go back and look. I'm going to have the charts pulled up. Gosh, if I had my PDF up the whole time, it'd be embarrassing. So once again, everything I'm saying is for educational purposes only, not investment advice. So let's. Yesterday we talked about the turtle soup, so that was a pretty cool setup. So today we're going to talk about the 80-20, right? And so the 80-20 is a real simple setup. The prior day must have opened in the top 20% of its range on that day and closed in the lower 20%. So that means it opened high, and then, try, maybe push a little bit and all that stuff, and then close low, right? So maybe Marubozu type bar, right? Something like that, not a hammer, not a shooting star, right? Because that means it would have opened and closed at the lows, right? So we want something that tried high and finished low. Right, so that's the idea. Okay, and then the strategy is, so today must, at one point, push below 5 to 15 ticks below the prior day's close. If they, basically they say it's up to you. So basically, 10, 15 cents, something like that below. And then you set a buy stop, is the idea, at yesterday's low, and a stop, right, your stop loss at today's low of the day. And then you move stop to profit, which we always like to do, and you collect gains. And that is the 80-20. So let's show you an example of that real quick. Okay, so I have NVIDIA pulled up here. So let's go to the daily chart. And this actually did this basically like a day ago. Let me pull up let me make this a little bit cleaner here. Okay, there we go. So NVIDIA too, a lot of charts had scary charts on Friday, right? So this strategy is one, that is, interesting, where you're seeing kind of these down moves, right? So it's a quick scalping type strategy. It's a day trading strategy only. It's not meant to be swung overnight, right? And you'll see why, right? So let's take a look. So here, right, on Thursday last week, NVIDIA put in an inside day, but it also, opened in the top 20% of its range, and it closed in the bottom 20%, right? So you can see that there, right? So just towards the highs and closed towards the lows, right? This doesn't count, right, because that's definitely not in the top 20%, right? So here we could see, once we see that happen, right, so the range of this day here was, 4.45, just, if we want to get really technical on it, right? So 20% of that was 89 cents, right? We can kind of look here, 176.89, right? 172.89, right? 176.90. Yeah, so you can see it's within, just within that range. Really, really close up there, the 20% range. So less than 90. It was a dollar, right? Minus 5 cents. So basically 95. It's really, really close to that range. So you get the idea. So close enough. But here's the strategy, right? That's the idea. So upper 20%, lower 20%. I missed by like 1% there, but anyway. So let's see what happened, right? So the idea is when it ticks below here and it starts to tick back above in that range, right? That's your trade, right? So just to kind of show you how that played out, let's go here to the. Let's take a look at the 5-minute chart. Okay, so this was Thursday, right? And this was Friday. So let's look and see what it did, right? So here's the lows. Right, so here's the low. Oh goodness, it didn't. Was that the day? Let me double check that. I thought I looked at this already. Yeah, so here was the lows. Yep, the 19th here. All right, well, this example ended. I thought I tested this a little bit better. Yeah, no, it was here. Yeah, Thursday, Friday. This is it. We go here. Here, right here's the lows. Here. Okay, so the idea is when it ticks below, it's really scalpy, right? So, but when it ticks below, right, that's when you kind of come back up, right? So here you kind of push below, 10, 15 cents or so, right? So a little bit more than that, almost like a point. But when it starts to push to that range, right, can attempt to trade that as it goes along, right? So here it was, you can see it gave a quick pop. So it was 176.52, right, to 176.40 or 176.93 for a nice 40-cent move off of that. So not amazing, glorious, stuff, right? But for the most part, it is a strategy that could be employed, right? So it's very, very much like stuff that we look at where we go, where we look to reclaim, part of the range. And so mostly it comes when you see like a big, really big bar, kind of like, here was definitely one, right? You could see where it kind of got here, right? Kind of closed here, and then it's pushed like a little bit in the range. Really, really scalpy type stuff. You don't see these setups as often anymore, at least on some of these high beta names. I'm just trying to see if I can see anything else that was kind of interesting there, that gave that setup. Again, not quite that 20% range here. It was up. So, obviously a rare setup, to fit those parameters precisely in that 0.20% range and that 20% range. But, in general, I would say it was pretty close. So here, we could kind of look back on that day and kind of scan to see, how it pushed back up in that range. But again, it's to find these setups daily is rare. But again, we do see a lot of those ranges, those lows tested, and this is just one of those examples of those. So anyway, when you see it, it's something that could be employed potentially on those moves. Here, obviously we close at the highs, so I don't know. It's just rare these days. You don't see too many, huge down days. I think maybe Roku had one recently. Let's take a look. I don't know. I think I calculated that wasn't quite 20%, and then you don't see too many more. This was pretty close here. Let's see if we can see any others real quick. Probably this was a good day right here, right? So you can see 7.74 was the range there. I'll just check the distance. Let's just say 7.74 times 0.2, right? So 1.54. So here you had the close, 93.25. Right, and the low 92.51. So definitely within that range. So this is a great example here on June 25th on Roku. right? It was already, that's one of the things I look at too is, what's the kind of overall trend? In general, it's been trending up. And so you could see what happened here on this day, right, without going back in time too much. Let's see if I can zoom in here a little bit. Okay, you can kind of see what happened here. So as we opened this day, it gapped down, right? And then it thrust. You can see how it pushed up, right, intraday. And that was actually a pretty good move, right? That was the better the percentages are, right, the better, right? The more the better the plan is. But you can see that gave a very, very big momentum move from 92 to 95 on June 26th, right? So if I just real quick take a quick peek at it. Let's look at the 15-minute time frame real quick. June 26th. So that was here. Okay, let's take a look at the price action there real quick. So June 26th is here. Okay, no, that's perfect, right? That was a real 20% right there. Okay, so you can see the prior day's lows right there, and look at that. Look at that momentum move right through the open. Right as it reclaimed those lows, right? Opened in the top 20%, closed in the bottom 20%. Right, and look how that got that huge momentum through it, right? So this is one definitely to look at. When we kind of go through our watch lists at night, is to really look at these for potential momentum moves, and you can see how it did that, right? They're rare, right? Clearly, I just went through like 4 stocks and finally was like, oh, okay, that looks like it works, right? And then look at that. Look how it pushed through there, 92.50. Boom, all the way up to 95. So a nice 3-point move off of that. And then you can imagine, how the options were on those. Just real quick, if I pull that up, let me just pull that up real quick. The 26th, so it was June 28th was the expiration day. So let's just figure 94s. So .Roku 1909 20. What did I say? The 28th. Yeah, June 28th. So the 93s. 1906 28th calls, and let's just look at the 93s that day. On June 26th was what day? In here somewhere. So June, I'm trying to see where it came over here. So you can see what happened, right? So this moved essentially from, all right, this is the new day right here. So is it thrust below the prior day's lows? So basically on this range, $2. It went all the way up to over $3, right? And then eventually pushed even higher to $3.50. So a nice momentum move on those. And probably even if a little bit out of the money, could have got a little bit more of an explosive move on it, right? As it approached the kind of in the money type range, and we can see that here. Okay, so here was that day, right? Kind of really, as it thrust too, right? It's not necessarily on the option chart, but probably thrust a little bit lower. So $1 all the way up to $2.30. So more than a double off of that trade, using the 80-20 rule. So anyway, just wanted to share that with everybody. I hope you guys found that helpful and interesting. And we'll definitely keep an eye open for those too. Anytime you see like kind of a Marubozu type day, or something that just kind of closed really red, it's good to look at those percentages and then kind of really look at that the next day to see if it ticks below and gives a nice thrust to kind of push up there, through those ranges. So there we go. So at this point, if anybody has any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those in the chat window. We'll get through as many as we can. We'll try to wrap up by 10:30 or so we can get a good night's sleep and everybody have an awesome trading day tomorrow. So good stuff. Okay, let's see what's going on. All right, so hey guys, hey Session, hey Chad, good evening, Mike, what's going on? All right, so real quick, Soccer Cycler messaged me. He loves to tune into this. He's a great trader on Twitter there, and so he said, hey, take a look at these tonight if you get a chance. So and see what everybody thinks of it. So we'll take a look here. So the first one he was talking about is Lulu. So let's see. So Lulu is is looking pretty interesting. So here's what we've got, right? We had this upward trend line here, and we had a minor pivot that kind of came in here. We had this nasty close on Friday with some volume. So really, this was a very, very bearish move, and the market just likes to just kind of sometimes, Fridays are tricky to swing, right? We took gold over the weekend. And that ended up being pretty good, and there's still some more opportunity in it, perhaps. But that was sort of like a kind of a volatility hedge type thing, just in case we had some Middle East issues and stuff like that over the weekend. So always difficult to swing over the weekend, right? But you can see why, right? Because this is what happened, right? So we see that big reversal there. So So that is strong. It ended up finishing with an inside day. So we'll see if it can break over, those inside day levels. So right now it has failed to break down below this trend line here. So it does have a macro downward trend line, right? So the trend has been down, right? So we will see if it can put a minor pivot here and start to work maybe its way back up to those highs. So that was an interesting one to look at. So Nike, let's take a look at that. Nike stuff, and we've had this as a trade of the week before. It has been good. It is consolidating a lot here. It looks a little bit like a kind of bull flagish type setup going on here as it is starting to hover above the cloud, right? So we'll kind of keep an eye on that too. A really tight range. It might might start to push out here. Watch out, it's got some pitchfork resistance above. Then we've got Apple. Apple again inside day, right, and then failed to. Sorry about all this this stuff here. All right, inside day, and then failed to, again, had a really rough day on Friday and failed to break down below there. If it does push below those Friday lows or close below it with some volume, right, we might see another push maybe down to this trend line, maybe get to that 213, 212 range. So just kind of a little bit of caution there. And then NVIDIA. NVIDIA was looking really bearish too with like Intel and a couple of these semiconductors and all that stuff. Also finished with an inside day, right? So just be careful of that. A push below that inside day could start to work on this open gap. But as far as we can see now, this gap has been defended, right? Kind of an island top type situation here, if we got below it, right? So we'll see if that holds. Actually, here's another island bottom right here. Here's an island bottom here. So kind of, right? So the gap slightly got filled there, but anyway, you kind of get the idea. But yeah, so NVIDIA's been kind of gappy here in these sections, so we'll see how this holds. Inside day up might give another push up to try to retest that trend line, so that should be interesting there. So good. Session, Chad, Mike, my goodness, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Thank you for your support too. Mike, what's going on? Let's take a look. We got Roku. Let's take a Roku. So Roku, obviously has been, a huge topic recently, with the big move down. Not surprised to see after that huge move here to kind of see like a pause day today. So that's what happened here. Big move here, kind of pause and gave a little bit of a bear flag, then down, pause, down, pause. So let's see. It does have a closing gap below here, right? So it hasn't filled that closing gap yet. The open gap has been filled. So let's see. It seems to have found a little bit of support here. Again, it's got this downward trend line right here that we need to kind of eventually work to. It seems like it might take, it could give an epic squeeze and start to work its way up. That is a possibility, but I'm more or less, kind of right now I'm seeing it kind of maybe work its way towards this trend line. And then once it does that, it might give us an opportunity for a long, but who knows how long that's going to be at this point. So Netflix, let's take a look there. So Netflix, I think earnings season's coming up again. You can kind of see it right around the corner right here. So, but let's take a look and get some of these key levels off here so it doesn't distract everybody. So you can kind of see what's been happening, right? Macro trend has been down, right, all the way since before its earnings gap down, right? So again, it just keeps getting beat up and beat up and beat up, and then it keeps on getting more and more competition out there, right? So we got Comcast with, their streaming boxes. That's, a lot of Roku, but still more streaming there. And they have a lot of material as well. You got Amazon, you've got, the Roku, you got Disney, all this stuff, and Apple is now doing streaming. All that stuff is really just giving this thing, kind of a run for its money, right? And so we'll see if this this kind of happens here. So we do have a little bump going on right here, so we might have a upper pivot here. So if we do close above that with some volume, we might see a push up to the trend line here, possibly short term. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And then GDXJ, let's take a lookie. Yeah, so it's looking pretty good. So we can see here, it did put in a recent low. This is an old trend line we had. So it did put in a recent low here. So we can move the trend line there, right? And then we did get this minor pivot here. We closed bullishly above that on Friday, right? Little down less, but it's still got a nice follow through here. It's starting to kind of poke out above the cloud. So that is that's nice for the miners there. So good stuff. Paul, what's going on? Good to see you. Nat Fry, how are you? Thanks for tuning in. Chad, what's going on? SQ, yeah, good one. I looked at that recently. That guy has gotten beat up a lot here. So we can see that also this actually looks almost identical to Netflix, doesn't it? Big gap down, kind of that, right? That glass slipper setup, right? Very similar, right, Paul? So we have that, and then this down move here. So we can see our trend lines here. Don't really need that anymore. Okay, so we can see that this was the recent trend, right? And then it put in this perfect, basically looking a little minor pivot right here. So it needs to get up and close above this high, right? So over $60.70. So if we can get a nice bullish close over that on volume, it could start to work its way up to the cloud. Okay. Good stuff. Walmart was on fire today. And then it kind of fizzled out towards the end, right? But it basically decided it wanted to hold trend, right? Gapped down a little bit and said, nope, I want back above my trend line. And in fact, it set in a new high right there, so it shifted this here. And so basically, it is above the trend line now with a topping tail here, here, and here, right? So we're seeing, it is finding some buying pressure, right? Or some supply right up there. So it is, it is kind of in these levels, right? So we're seeing, basically a resistance zone up here. So we'll see it might consolidate a little bit more and try to work its way up again, right? So good stuff there. MU, nice one. I haven't looked at this one in a while. I saw it on, I think, Option Mike's charts this weekend, and just haven't really looked at it. So possibly because it's on my do not trade list. Yeah, you can say. But anyway, nice high right here. Here's this push right here. So you can see a lot of these, semis were looking sort of bullish, right? So it doesn't look like quite close below that minor pivot right here. So really key level is here, right? If it could close below that, I might even actually take a short in it. So, to swing towards the cloud. Good stuff. A lot of fun that might be setting up. Yeah, I mean, we went through a bunch of them tonight on the live stream in the room, and a few of them are getting really, really close. A lot were getting really bullish, right? So bearish, and so let's see. We'll have to kind of look. There's some good ones out there that could be coming up. So we'll have to just scan tomorrow and see what kind of new fresh setups we have. So for sure, love me some Lotto fun. So nice stuff. McDonald's is close, right? So McDonald's is close. It's getting there. It's it put in this nice minor pivot right here. It couldn't quite close above it yet, but it's working on it, right? So tomorrow, if we could get an increase in volume and close above these levels, this 212.10, type stuff, right, might start to get interesting. Why is that doing that there? So create alert above that. Yeah, so the high of the day today was 212.47. So a bullish close over 212.50, right? Could maybe start to work its way up to the top of the cloud again. It's just interesting to see it down out of this channel. It really collapsed out of here. This thing was really going strong for a long time. And anytime you guys see a nice channel like this and it breaks down, it's time to pull out the Elliott wave, right? So that would have been your wave 3 top, right? And then you have, sort of like this A, B, C. So you have this 3, might be working on another 3 like A, B, C, and then maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we might be working its way down a little bit. So you could see a flat kind of working on here, wave 4, and then once that is complete, we can get a good count on it. I would imagine McDonald's just trades really, really well. Some of these stocks just trade really, really well with Elliott wave. I mean this setup right here was so fantastic back then when we had this very, very clear zigzag setup. You had wave, and the wave 5 was so perfect. I mean, this stuff just set up so well. This, like, you can kind of see the end of this. I won't zoom out too much anymore, but you can see this triangle right here was a perfect wave 4, right? Then it finished like the final impulsive wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, to get like this wave 5 up, right? And then it gave an impulsive move down, which is a zigzag. So you had your 5 move here, your A, B, C up, which is a little complicated. But once that was done, right, one rule of the zigzag is never going to exceed the start of wave A. So this got really, really close, and we shorted this here, and that was a great short on wave C. Elliott wave can be great when you can catch it when it's when it fails to break, when it gets close to rule breaking, right? And then it fits within the pattern. So from there, we're getting this impulsive wave up, and typically, I would say that was probably like a wave 3, maybe a more macro wave 3, and then so from there we're kind of seeing this wave 4. So anytime you can see a breakdown of a clear signal in Elliott wave, it's time to start putting the counts on, right, and kind of see where it is. So, and then look for maybe another impulsive move to kind of jump in on. So yeah. Sumit, what's going on? Inda. Let's see. Okay, yeah. All right, yeah, the India, yeah. So I mean, really, really bullish move here. That was great. I mean, right? Didn't they get rid of like small business tax or something? That's fantastic, right? So so just be careful here, right? It is very gappy, right? As any sort of like foreign ETF would be, ADR type thing. But it is gapping up. It had a bullish move today, breaking out of the cloud. So let's see if we can get out of this macro downward trend line right there and start to work its way back up. Okay, and then Lulu, we just kind of looked at a little bit there from the earlier request, but it is, for the most part, yes, you can kind of see here from its, really, really, down move right there, right? The macro trend, right, is up, right? So, but now we're just kind of looking and seeing what it's doing here. Basically, it's formed like a little triangle, right? So here's kind of this, larger downtrend line. So if we can get above that, we might start to work our way back up again. But Lulu is tough to trade. Okay, especially with the options, because this thing likes to chop. I mean, look at it here. Look at this choppy mess. This one and CRM, I just stay away from them, right? And then sometimes Johnson Johnson, Nike, some of those ones can get a little bit choppy too. But here's Lulu. I mean, just look at it. Whoa, it's choppy. Oh, look at this. Ascending triangle breakout. Oh no, chop and go down. Right. So it's just how it likes to trade. Very, very tough. But yeah, in general, the overall trend is up on it. Overall trend is up. Session, what's going on? AXP, let's take a look. Cool. Yeah, so American Express, let's take a look. Did it put in fresh lows today? It did, so that shifts our trend line a little bit. So activate. So it's got some work to do here. A little bit of work to do. Let's see if we can get over this trend line and continue to possibly work its way up to that cloud. W day. W day. Yeah, trying to see if we can get bullish. See if we can close over this this high here, this 176.81. That's got this bigger trend line to contend with. Cat. Ooh, inside 60, nice. So that's about hit target right here, right? So hit the cloud and then push down a little bit and held the cloud today. So at this point, right, we'll maybe start to look at possible fresh reversal up. So let's see if it consolidates in there and give us another move and then a possible another move up, right? For like kind of an extended bull flag. Nice stuff. MTN, what's going on? Let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla. Quick sip of water. Look at that. Look at this Tesla. Look at that gap down right here. Look at that nice Morningstar reversal right there. Isn't that beautiful? Kind of real bodies below this real body, close over 50% of the range, and then a nice swing up from there. Love it. Okay, anyway, it's working on a bull flag right now. Don't you love it when patterns like really play out? It's like, oh, this is great, right? Anyway, bull flag right here. Really, really interesting. It had a nice move today, so this is kind of the key areas, right? So it's closed right at the trend line, right? So if it gets bullish and pushes its way up, right, it could be a bull flag breakout, right? Now, it is an inside day, so if it pushes below today's lows, then it could push down, maybe test the bottom of this bear flight, and then possibly get down to the cloud here. So it's a very, very interesting situation, the fact that it closed right at the trend line. Okay. G10, what's going on? IQ? Yeah, let's take a look. Okay, yeah, it's getting a little interesting here, right? So, I mean, lots of stuff going on. Here's your high. There's this. Close below the minor pivot here. It's starting to push down. So it is like bullish and bearish like all at one time. Mostly bearish, right? So if it starts to break down a little bit, it could break down at the cloud and test some of these lows. Otherwise, see how it handles this lower trend line right here. Minor pivot breakout, maybe gets out of the cloud. Very, very tricky on that. I wouldn't even mess with it. CNC, not clear the way. CNC, great one here. It's getting there. I have an alert on this one too. So we have our downward trend line here. This looks like it could be adjusted here. I don't know what's going on. So here's your low. There's your minor pivot right there. Okay, good. So these are your different minor pivots, right? It started to get bullish here, but on decreasing volume, so that didn't work. Then you had this guy here at even less volume, then it ended up going down. So really, we need to see a close here. That's why I have an alert kind of just to show me that it's getting there. It is above 47.53. So if we get a bullish close over there, we might see a little bit of a spike on it. But again, this downward cloud makes it really, really kind of complex. And Grub. Let me tell you guys, Grub can trade. I went back and did some back testing on this one. Look at this trend line, right? It's a beautiful downward trend line right here, right? And then it gave this minor pivot right here, closed about right here. Guys, this trade the next day, this is part of our swing methodology too. I don't like the downtrending volume on it, but a big push there, right? And then right, and then here you can see it closed below this minor pivot right here on increasing volume. And look at that down move right there, really nice as well. So Grub can trade. So at this point, it's still trending down, right? So, here I wouldn't give it too much consideration, right, until it tries to figure itself out a little more in that downward trend line. But once it gets set up, it can really move, which is kind of cool. Session missed the SIG double inside down. Oh, I know. Stop. I know. I missed it too. And it was all set up using our techniques this morning too at the open. But yep, double inside day down. I missed it as well. Right. inside the range, right? Couldn't get above 50% of the range and push back down. I mean, so much stuff in play on that one. This thing was just ready, right? And then of course it found support here, at the prior lows, right? Some buying pressure right here. There is, some demand down here, right? So here, right? And then so far here. So we'll see. So we will keep an eye on this though, right? Let's see if it gives a minor pivot and then close with that. Might come back to the cloud too, because it is holding this as support. Let's see if some volume comes in. I know 1.6. I know 4-point move today, easy, good stuff. Thomas FB. Let's take a look. Yeah. So Facebook has been interesting, right? So I didn't really mess with it today. It was let me kind of see if I can clean this up a little bit for you guys. Okay, there. So you can see the trend lines here. It's trying to hold trend all day. It bounced off it today, gave a move, and then it kind of closed slightly below it, right? So it did give this minor pivot here. So we definitely want to keep an eye on it and see where it closes tomorrow. If it's bearish, right, and closes below this with some volume, then it's a short, right, for me. So I'll consider that, unless it can get back above trend and start following it again. So those are basically the keys right there on Facebook. So G10, yeah, MNST. I know, huge move today. This is a trade of the week idea we had last week, and it just never triggered, right? It was, I really liked how it was kind of popping out of this trend line. I just wanted to see a bullish close over there, and then we could see a cloud break on it. It had a big move today. If you go into the daily action, I mean, it really, really pushed, right? Look at that consolidation and then big breakout, then bull flag breakout again, right? So it was, had some really strong movement. And so let's just look and see how it does in this cloud. I'd love to see it actually just close bullishly, maybe like above there, and then see it move up. So definitely keeping an eye on it. Jeff C. On the 80-20, where the examples were to buy a call once it went up through the range. Yeah, that's exactly it. So we were slightly off, on NVIDIA, and it just looked, by eyeballing, I was like, oh yeah, clearly that's 20%. Then here we're talking, and I did the actual calculation. I was like, well, technically it's not 20%, and like their rules were 20%. So this technically is a little bit, just slightly like 1% more, it was like 21%. But then when you found, that later, right, on Roku, that move on that, that was really good, right? So you just have to kind of just keep an eye out for it, right, if it makes sense to do it. And then so you would basically buy a call, you wouldn't use the calls themselves, you would base it on the stock chart. Right, it is cool to use the option chart, but sometimes it gets a little bit skewed because the bids and the asks move along with the price of the stock, even if there's no volume, right? So it can kind of skew things a little bit on those charts. But that's the idea, just to kind of illustrate, at least where generally what the prices were at the time of those. So you would look to go it as soon as price, pushed above, the price of the common shares pushed above the low of the day, of the prior day, right? So that's the idea. Yep, Manoj, how's it going? Good to see you. Hope you had an awesome weekend and a great day today. Wendy, good morning from Singapore. Thank you for tuning in. One day we'll get so sophisticated, not sophisticated, but so like we'll have like a studio and stuff like this for this. We'll have like music going on. Maybe we'll play like some some beach music in the background so you wake up. We'll make it like the best to tune in the morning, right? That type of thing. So. We'll get there one day. All right, so Visa. Yeah, very similar to like that AXP move, right? It just has to close above this level, right? Bullishly with some volume to start to work its way back up, right? Otherwise, it seems to be sliding down the trend line a little bit. But yeah, decent day today as it kind of stayed above the cloud. So that's good. Starbucks. I'm waiting for it. It's getting there. Right, so it's kind of coming down here, right? So it's kind of slowly consolidating, pushing to this trend line. I'd like to see a nice bullish breakout above that, and then maybe try to work its way to the top of the cloud. I really think this thing could get over 100. It just, just playing games right here, right? Give that big push to 99.72, right? And then kind of get everybody's mind off of it, but we're watching it every day. So keep an eye on it. BA. Yeah, so BA has been bullish, right? So inside, Doji Day here, basically right at the upward trend line. So we'll see if we can hold that, right? It looks a lot like Tesla right now, Facebook, right? Just really, really testing these trend lines here. So, but what it did do is give a minor pivot, right, at those levels, right here. So we got to keep an eye on this tomorrow. If it closes below that, bearishly, right down here with some volume, Boeing could be a short, right? We can see it come back to that 351, 350 level, and it's not out of the woods on its this the max, right? 737 max, right? FAA sends end of Boeing 736 grounding as up to individual countries, right? American Airlines exists is confident of getting it back in the air, right? So a couple of bullish things overnight, right? So they're paying families. I mean, but it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be interesting. I don't know how many people are really comfortable getting on one, really. So very, very interesting. So we'll keep an eye on it for sure. For sure. James, what's going on? Good evening. Bull flag today on CTL. Let's take a look. CenturyLink. Ah, that looks interesting. Yeah, well, it depends. Let's take a look. Maybe. Maybe. Oh, okay. Shirley did email some stocks, and so we'll get to those in a little bit. Yeah, so I mean, I like how it's engulfing like the whole real body right here, right? So this is an advantage, right? So it did not. I mean, it closed just below these levels, so it was bearish, but this kind of reversal is really really strong for it. So let's see if we can come back and kind of test those levels there. So it could be, it's a little long, but good things come to those who wait, right? So there we go. So possible breakout there. Definitely worth keeping an eye on. Okay, good. Sumit, yeah, PayPal. Let's take a look. PayPal inside day consolidating, right? PayPal is gonna be really rough here, guys. It's it's not as pretty as we think, because even if it gets above these levels here, which was the original minor pivot, right? It's if it did that, it's coming right into cloud resistance. So it's got some work to do. It's got to get out of that cloud, in my opinion, to really start moving again. Ulta. Yeah, Ulta's, these are really tricky, and I talked about this at the close today, on our live stream. It's when it gets beaten up like this, like really bad. I mean, this thing gapped down like 100 points, right? It takes a while for it. And these big gap downs, it takes a while for it to start working its way back up up here, unless it was just like false news or something like that. But this thing got slammed, right? So it's tough. It tried to break above these recent highs here, so we had resistance here, resistance, consolidation. Try to break out of this little consolidation here, and then came back right into resistance again. So you can see it had a little bit of an upper shadow here today. So it's getting there, but it's going to be tricky. It's really tough for me to really take this. This is more of like an observation mode for me, kind of right now. Costco, on the other hand. Oh no, I looked at Costco today, right? Yeah. It's getting so close. Look at that. Yeah, in fact, today, Costco gave its first minor pivot here. So if we can close bullishly over that tomorrow, we might see an earnings run on this thing. So I'm pretty excited about that. Okay. Let's take a look. Netflix. Manoj, Netflix, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it could be interesting if we close above it. Today we might see a move up to that kind of 288 level. That could happen. SQ. Similar, this has got a little bit of work to do. It's got to get above these levels. We looked at this a little bit earlier, but yeah, if we could close above that, then we could look at that as a possible move. I'm not saying short it here, but if it was to get stronger, we could take a look at it. Dimitri, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Rahul, what's up? How do I like GSHD? Let's take a look. So GSHD. Inside day, closing at the top of the range. Paul, if you're here, Doji Sandwich, potential. Paul's the one who shared with me a great video on the Doji Sandwich before, so we like to talk about that. So yeah, big move up here, Doji Sandwich, possible move up if it breaks over. One strategy is, right, we talked about this before, if it pushes above today's close, stop at the low, right, could break itself out, but it's also an inside day, so break out of the inside day high could give it another move there as well. So Goosehead, right, it's got some levels right here too, so if it pushes above those, we could see it come back to that 51.47 type level. ESNT, 180 kind of set up right here, up then down. So this is really really bearish right here. So obviously, but it's come back into a big congestion zone, right? So it's really really tough. It's I wouldn't say necessarily swing it short because it did have a lot of junk, a big mess in here, and apparently it wanted to be back in the mess again, right? Something like that. So it's kind of back in the mess. Try to get out of the mess, and then it said, nope, I want back in the mess, right? And then FND. Very, very consolidating move, right? So possible breakout, pending. The only thing I would be careful with this is it's forming an ascending triangle, right? Kind of see that? So ascending triangles have a 38% probability of breaking out, which means there's a higher probability, right, that it goes down, like 62% probability that it moves down. So a lot of times we see this, right? Because if you kind of go to Elliott wave theory, right, it's triangles usually appear only in wave 4 or wave B, right? And either way, you see that, right? So even if it was a wave B of wave 4, right, the next move is a C down, right? So and then same with wave 4, right? We would still look to wave 4 is kind of the only probability. Usually B is a C down, right? And then wave 4 to see an ascending triangle is even rarer, right? Because typically wave 4 it finishes with a move down. So usually when you see an ascending triangle, it's wave B, then you see a wave C, and then it goes. So just be careful trying to buy a breakout there. Same thing happened on Lulu. I'll show you. Total fake out. Right, here's your ascending triangle here. It started to break out. A lot of people started getting bullish on this, and then fail. And look how long it took to get above it. Those levels to here. It took a gap. It took an earnings gap to get over it. So just something to keep in mind. Nephri, my pleasure. Thank you. Heather, good evening. Good to see you. Experience and thoughts. Good evening. Etsy, Shop, Facebook, Amazon, Spy, and TNDM. Yep. Give me 1 second. Let me just write a couple of these down here for Shirley. Apps. Give me 1 second. AUY. Shirley, I'm only going to do a few of these. NOI, Zio, and SO. So we'll look at those. Okay. Let's put this back in here for Shirley. Okay. All right, good. Etsy, how's that doing, man? That was a great call out the other day. It's trying to get out of that cloud. It already hit my target, right? So here's that nice close right there. I mean, beautiful move up from there, right? And so nice volume on Friday, and it's still closed, kind of a hammerish. Can't seem to get over that cloud, but once it closes above that cloud, it could continue. But we're still watching it either way at this point. But that was a great move on Etsy. Shop. We kind of looked at this a little bit there. I mean, it's got those minor pivots to deal with here and here, right? So, but if it could close over there bullishly, we might see a little bit of a cloud break on Shop. Facebook. Again, same thing, just holding that trend line, right? So we'll see if it closes below those lows tomorrow, right, for a bearish move, or if it can hold the trend still. Amazon. Yep. I mean, it was nasty close on Friday, and it managed to get kind of back into that range, even though it's the low end of that range. So it kind of held on today, right? So that was big for that. But again, a breakdown below today's lows, could send it down to these, these kind of test these support zones right here, right? So it's something to be concerned about with that. And then SPY, obviously similar to SPX. There we go. Right. So today, if we closed below Friday's lows, it would have been bearish, but it ended up holding as well. Very, very similar to that Amazon. And then TNDM. Ooh, I might like this one. Let's see how this one draws out here. There's your low. Yep. There's this. Ooh. Oh my. Close. Only thing I didn't like today is the decreasing volume, and then obviously the upper shadow right here. So I would probably wait on this one, right? Wait till we get close above this 66 level with some volume bullishly, and then we might see another push up to that 75. We'll definitely take a look at that. Let me see how this thing trades generally overall. Trades, unfortunately, it's kind of a tight traded. It's painful. Let's see all that pain. For options traders, right? I mean, this is like the worst. It's like, for stock traders, it's like, okay, yeah, I can wait, it's fine. Here, it's just like, oh no, my premium, oh no, and then it comes back to the same level. Oh, that just crushed me. Even though you're at the same level, right? You're lower because time and and chop, just and then look at that, through there. So be careful. It's back in the zone. Okay. That's the only thing I would be concerned about is in the that kind of area. So yeah, it's complete with sound effects. Rahul, T-Doc, let's take a look. Okay, so we have here, back to the trend line. Back to trend line here, to the lows, to here. Right, nice bullish break over there, then a sweet move up, and then it seems to still be holding trend. So just be careful, right? It's running into like, a little bit of resistance here. Right? There's some supply up there, right? Some selling pressure, right? Here, here, a little bit here. Kind of this kind of thing, right? Kind of horizontal potential. So just watch those levels. That 75, 76 type level, right? Once you can get above there, then it could possibly work itself up. But this was a nice reversal right here. This fits our trading methodology. So that's great. So it's still holding trend, so that's good. So see, it forms like, it might form like a little kind of cup, kind of handle, and then break, up, retest, and then up, that type of thing. So that could be good. Good. Dustin, WLL. Yeah, let's take a look. Yep, very similar recently. Right, we had this move here. That's kind of your macro level, matching with the cloud. Here's your pivot up, right, and then it looks like it wants to get higher, right, but it needs to get over this trend line. Really, is kind of the key. Okay, GE. GE amazingly, right? Gave this minor pivot here, closed above it here for a nice swing up. Now it's been consolidating, and we'll see how it holds up in these levels. Okay, let's kind of see how it holds there. It's at the cloud right now. AMD. AMD started to move today. Apparently had some call sweeps on it, things like that. So it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. Very, very minor pivot right here. If it closes above it tomorrow with some volume, maybe it'll get a little pop. Maybe try to push through that cloud. And ATVI and Yeti. Yep, still holding trend, right? So, but minor pivot today off of this more macro trend line. So see if it closes below that tomorrow with some volume. Otherwise, it could hold trend. Good. Yeti. Minor pivot here. I would like to see it close bullishly over 31.81. And that would be out of the cloud, and that would be pretty decent. So keep an eye on that for sure. Good. Thanks, Spencer. Nice. Good. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Hey, good morning. Experience and thoughts. OSTK, good short. Yeah, it was a good short. Jumping in now is going to be pretty tough, right? But just so you can kind of see what we would look at. Right, here's your highs here. Right, there's your push to there. So this really was your signal day, right? Right, and then it pushed below there, and then you could have shorted here back out of the cloud. At this point, I wouldn't chase it here. I could keep going. It could go to zero like a HMNY, but at this point, it seems like it got a good chunk of it. The meat of it's kind of gone. That type of thing. Hey, Marky Mike, Stock Recycler. Yep, I started the day with it. Gave you a shout out too. So good stuff. So definitely check out the beginning of the discussion. I think we're about 20 minutes in when we started talking about it. So, yep, good stuff, man. Nick Brown. What time period do I primarily trade? All day. I trade the open. Obviously, we have tactics that we use at the open. We use our 60 anchor tactics. We got some go bar tactics, some other fun stuff that we look at too. Gapping goes on the 3-minute charts, things like that. Are you asking when I trade or what time? So the 5-minute, I'll look at the 5-minute chart. Occasionally the 3-minute chart at the open if I see a potential gap and go, right? Otherwise the 5-minute and the 15 intraday. I'll look at the 60 for references of like inside 60 breakouts, things like that, and then of course I reference the daily and the weekly. So the daily for swings primarily. I'll reference the weekly on it, but usually I kind of know what's going on here on the daily with the trend lines. So if it's been going down, obviously the weekly's bad, right? That type of thing. So, but I just look for those kind of trades. So good stuff. Real quick for Shirley, let's look at AAPS. AAPL. I'm so used to typing that. So AAPS. Maybe she meant Apple. I'll do AAPL. No, she went apps. Sorry. Maybe it's because I'm so used to typing Apple. APPS. Yeah, it's starting to work. So just watch that upper shadow there, Shirley. Just something to keep in mind there. Let's take a look at AUY. Yeah, nice. You want a gold right there. Definitely bullish move right here. It would have been nice to have seen a little more volume on it, but these gold are still still strong with the volatility. NLY trending nicely. NLE Capital. There, yeah. So it's following trend. Bullish still proven otherwise. Zio. I wouldn't mess with this one. Sure, something's up with this one. Something's weird. Yeah, some acquisition news or something like that. I wouldn't even touch this. And then SO, Southern Company. Yep, very, very, very trendy, guys. This is what I'm talking about right here. This is your right. This is your channel. Right, it seems to be overshooting right now, but it's still bullish. Right, so just something to keep an eye on there. Could these could be like any diagonals on the breakouts. So just something to keep in mind there. So good stuff today, Rahul. My pleasure. Dustin, appreciate it. Yeah. Do I run a live broadcast stream? I do. Yeah, that's part of it. I do like a little private service. It's a super deal, right? It's not like $1,000 or anything like that. So yeah, I go live at the open for about an hour and a half. We kind of go over all the setups in the morning. We go to our go-to list. We look see what's kind of setting up there. And then we go to the open and we kind of see what's happening. We kind of spot some big moves or some potential moves at the open for some quick scalps. And then we look for a little bit, then after that we kind of switch to the 15 time frame. We start looking at our 15 orbs, right, and some other 15-minute setups that we look at. And then at about 10:30 I kind of wrap up there. We just kind of look around, intraday. If I see anything neat, I tweet it out, in the private Twitter stream. And then we go live at the close too, where we look for swings. So good stuff. Market Mike, awesome. Outmeans for tomorrow, good. Have some light swings for another day, cool. Thinking gap and go with the recent volume, possibly, very possible, very possible. Nick, good stuff. Mark and Mike, enjoy the rest of your stream. Yeah, pass out soon. I hear you. Mokshi Adananda, NEM. Let's take a look. Yeah, very tricky stuff right here, man. Just be careful with this. Kind of triangle-ish, just consolidating. It's not as nice as some of those other ones that we're looking at. Normally NEM can trade pretty well, but really consolidate right here. I wouldn't really do anything until it gives it more of a breakout move or gives it more definitive direction, right? Some of the KLs, like some of the ones that Shirley was talking about, could be a little bit better. The miners, right? GDXJ, like stuff like that. So something to keep an eye on. And then you've got Rita. Let's take a look. Yeah, definitely trending up nicely. I like it. Keep an eye on that one. Riata Pharmaceuticals. Yeah, that does look interesting. Keep an eye on that. Nice. Does this thing have options? Have any volume? Not really. No, the spreads are a little bit tough on the options, but that does look interesting. I like how it's trending up there. RP. Real page. Yeah, uptrending here a little bit. Watch the minor pivot today. McDonald's we looked at a little bit earlier, but definitely want it, happy to show it again. Right, here's the move right here. Minor pivot, need a bullish close over these levels right here, right, for it to get bullish. And then Twitter had some call sweeps in it today. It's kind of doing its thing. Just it's still below its trend line, but it's not breaking down. Right, so if it can get above that trend, I see it's found resistance. If we get above it, right, it might start getting bullish again. It's good stuff. Is there a free trial? Yeah, just email me at john@positivetrends.com. And we can talk about it. I don't really do a free trial, but I'm happy to talk to you about it. So just shoot me there or send me a DM on Twitter, whichever. So we'll figure something out. We'll talk about it. Facebook buying some startup. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So yeah, sometimes that. Oh, it's up after hours on that. Oh, interesting. Yeah, a little bit of a move there. A little bit of a move there. Yeah, it depends what the startup is, right? Normally, like a acquisition would send it down, right? Because all the outflow of cash. But if it's if they bought like Twitter or something like that, see ya. Interesting. Well, good stuff. All right, guys. Well, yeah. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. Anybody's new here, definitely check us out every market night. 9:30 p.m. New York time. We kind of go through these charts, and I love seeing these chart requests. They're great ideas there. We usually talk about a technical topic too, just to kind of keep things interesting. And yeah, really appreciate everybody tuning in. So make sure you give us a subscribe on YouTube. Please check out our the links in the description. And yeah. Appreciate you guys. Experience thought XBI has an unusual November 15th 77 puts. Well, let's see how unusual it is. November 15th 77 puts. Yeah, that is a little unusual. 11,000. Wonder where they think it's going. So that's on the biotechs, yeah. And it's not surprising actually to see like yeah, everything was bullish, right? In kind of like the pharma type stuff on Friday, and so I wouldn't be surprised to see that kind of start to work its way back down. So good stuff. Seneca, have a great night. Thank you again for your support. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Everybody, have a great night, and we'll see you guys. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Remember your risk first, and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And thank you everybody. Appreciate it.